Thank you very much, Steve. Well, we start here this evening. The JSE, which jumped almost 3% yesterday, continued to claw back gains as the global markets are still digesting news that the tech giant Apple is pruning growth plans due to a deteriorating global economic outlook. But there has been some other good news locally, and for more on that, we're joined by Roy Mutooni, who is an analyst with Absa Asset Management. Roy, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with the good day that the JSE has seen today in the second session after some very, very tumultuous weeks. What has moved the markets locally and globally today?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Thanks for having me, Kalani. So the market started quite slowly this morning, but by the end of the trading session seemed to have joined into what was happening globally, and it was up about 1.5%, led by Richmond, which I think rallied on the back of the sales update that they issued recently, and I think it's just been digested by the market now. Naspers and Process as well, just positivity around China and the potential of a bit of a stimulus coming out of there. And then it spread to everything, the mining stocks as well. So I think a pretty good solid day, 1.1% up at the close.
Ratings agency Fitch Ratings has announced that they are downgrading the BRICS a new development bank, and the reasons for this have a lot to do with Russia.
So that's an interesting one, and I guess this is some of that collateral damage that comes from this Russia-Ukraine war or invasion. So this bank has Russia as a shareholder, as it does the other BRICS countries, and Russia is quite a significant shareholder, and Russian companies are also a significant component of the loan book. Now, the problem here is that this bank, the competitive advantage it has is its ability to raise long-term dollar debt at very low interest rates and then on-lend that to its clients. Now, in the environment of sanctions and the current standoff between the U.S. and Russia, it's quite clear that this ability to raise long-term dollar debt is impaired. So ever since the war began, they've been unable to raise dollar debt or actually do any transaction in the U.S. So they've tried a few other things. They've tried reducing the exposure to Russia, despite the fact that the Russian counterparties seem to be performing. But it's quite clear that over the short to medium term, until a resolution is found around that Russia-Ukraine situation, this institution is going to see some significant problems raising new debt and also being able to advance to its primary customers, who are BRICS countries and primarily Russia. So one of the solutions that has been offered is that maybe the bank should increase its clientele, and I think you've seen this in the discussions around increasing the number of countries within that BRICS union. It'll be interesting to see how long that takes, who actually bites, but I think for the interim, it is reflected in the downgrade, in the credit rating downgrade.
I guess it's safe to say that when it comes to a new development bank downgrade, the problems will last for some time, as Russia is a member in good standing there of BRICS. Moving on to the mining sector, BHP is warning of hard times ahead for the mining sector, as we are all expecting the world to have a downturn in terms of economic activity.
So it's interesting that they put it that way, because these are things that we've seen from the beginning of the year. This cost inflation is one big thing for them. The problems around shifting stuff around the world, the lack of containers and all of that is another. Increasing wage pressure from shortage of workers, and also the fact that workers want to share in the mining bonanza tells you that things are going to be difficult. Up until now, what you've seen is rising share prices, rising commodity prices, great volumes, and big bonanzas and dividends for shareholders. But when you look forward, you've got a couple of problems. First of all, the really strong dollar is making it very hard for countries that survive on mining. So mining volumes will become a problem. We've also seen commodity prices coming off aggressively. Again, this might be because of a potential slowdown in China, and the fact that its zero COVID policy just means the economy is on a start-start basis. So it seems to me that what BHP and Rio Tinto are referring to is a likelihood that over the next 6 to 12 months, for as long as this Russia-Ukraine situation is not resolved, for as long as China persists with this zero COVID policy, for as long as it's not clear the extent of the stimuli they could bring into the market, and for so long as inflation remains a big issue, that maybe it's not the good old days like last year for all of these global mining companies. I think it's a warning that's come in good time.
More good news for the logistics firm Imperial Holdings. They've received approval to acquire J&J Group. What are the details of this transaction?
So it's quite interesting. The Imperial Group actually delisted from the JSE because they were acquired by DP World, which is a global logistics business, because DP World wanted Imperial to be their gateway to Africa. As part of this, Imperial bought this J&J Logistics, which also helps them increase their penetration into neighboring countries. So I think it's a logical follow-through to the acquisition. It's something that had been mooted quite some time ago, and now that they've got that approval, plus the approval to be acquired by DP World, I think yeah, it's good. It's good news for them. It's good news for South Africa. It links us up into a big global player, but unfortunately, it also means that we lose quite a significant player in the market, in the listed market, because it has delisted now.
Roy, something interesting happening tomorrow. Statistics South Africa is releasing the June inflation data, and it's something that is notable that it's now above the Reserve Bank target range of between 3 and 6%, sitting there at 6.5%. We saw in May inflation rising 0.7%, fuel being among those that contributed quite significantly in that particular increase. What are your expectations tomorrow?
Oh, it seems to me like we're going to see another record print here, similar to what we saw in the U.S. It seems like it will probably pass that 7% level and probably remain at that level for the next 3, 4, 5 months. Primarily because you've seen the rand weaken, fuel prices still rising, food inflation is still here with us, and the broadening wage pressures as well are still with us. So I think that's basically what we're going to see tomorrow. A broad range of inflationary pressures, and it also looks like they'll be quite sustainable over the short to medium term.
And which
I guess will have a big influence on what the Reserve Bank does do by Thursday.
Roy Mutooni is with Absa Asset Management. Thank you very much, Roy, for giving us that analysis and your time.